All right, we've got from the Boston Globe, Kevin Paul Dupont, a longtime hockey scribe Jimmy Murphy, and we've also got Hall of Fame forward Mark Recchi, multiple Stanley Cup champ, of course, one in 2011 with the Boston Bruins. Rex, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure to be on. Good to see you guys.
How's everything going? What have you been up to the last couple of months while we're all in self quarantine here?
Well, I've been probably the same as everybody else. We've been doing a little work as coaching staff, so that's been good. Keeping us somewhat busy, and trying to prepare like we're gonna play at some point and see what happens. And we've been on some leadership calls with this group of every Friday as well, which has been really neat. They've had some speakers, and it's pretty cool. And then the golf courses that open up now, so I'm gonna play a little. I've been playing a little golf now.
How long do you think? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about this is for a lot of players. This is the longest time they've ever been off the ice, and haven't been able to skate at all. Just how long do you think it's going to take for a lot of these guys to get back into the shape to play games and kind of get going?
Well, if they let if they do the social distancing properly, and you get guys in the rinks and they can do some informal stuff for 2 or 3 weeks, will really help. If they can get that going, and then you're probably going to need at least 2 to 3 week training camp to get them back to speed. But everybody stays so fit now, these guys. So I don't see a big issue with them getting back into game shape in terms of skating because of the way they work off the ice now.
Rex, many of these guys will have gone 3 months without skating just because they haven't been able to. Did you ever, from the time you were playing junior right up through 20 odd years there playing, did you ever go 90 days without skating?
Absolutely. I never skated in the summer. So.
You didn't? Okay.
No. I took the summers off and just trained and got training, and I would start skating in August. It actually is kind of, as I got older, I kind of even slowed it down where my off ice training I felt was the biggest thing for me was to make sure I was prepared. And then, I would get back on the ice, maybe 10 times to a dozen times right before training camp. So obviously, so you get your muscles and your groins and, those soft tissue stuff are ready to go. You're not just, going out there and all of a sudden pulling things, but because I was fit, I was able to do that. So, and that's what the guys should be able to do right now.
Yeah. So I have to think that's probably harder the older you get, right? Go 3 months at age 22 versus 32. So that said, do you think teams with the younger rosters might have an edge here with that?
It all depends. I mean, I look at our team, and our older guys are extremely hard workers, and they're extremely fit. So, it's going to come down to a mental battle at that point. Who's mentally going to be able to push through this and push through with no fans in the stands and get excited about playing, and I think mentally that's going to be a huge thing. And the guys that can do it, and the teams that are going to be able to do it, are going to have an advantage for sure.
Yeah, Marshy actually said a couple of weeks ago that he thinks the older teams are going to be in trouble, and the Bruins are one of the older teams in the league. And we all know Marshy says a lot of things. I mean, is there some credence to that? Is Marshy just sort of like doing his Marshy thing and talking there? What do you think about that?
He's making them underdogs. So they're such pros there, those guys. So they'll be fine. The Bruins will be fine for sure with the group of guys they have. So
Rex,
typical mentality there, us against the world kind of thing. Is that what Marshy's doing there? Everybody will beat us. We're underdogs. We're no good.
We're old. We're good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Rex, one of the big things has been the 2014 playoff format, and some people are saying, you get stuck playing a goalie like Carey Price, he could knock you off in a best of 3 or best of 5. There's a good chance you guys are going to play Carey Price. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's like any, most teams have great goaltending. So, it's just like anything. You just got to go play your game. And, yeah, a guy like that could steal it for sure. But, the league's trying to play. And if that's the matchup we end up with, then, hey, we got to play it. And, Montreal's got a good team. They're they're very well coached with Claude, obviously. So we'll know that they'll be prepared, and if that's the way it ends up going. But we're all in the same boat, and hopefully, you go in, you get whatever happens, you get in there, and you end up playing well, and you can maybe keep moving forward.
Do you think we'll end up viewing the Cup winner in this playoff any differently after it's done, just because the format's going to be so different? I mean, is it going to kind of be kind of fun because it's different and it's something nobody's ever seen before? Is there going to be some kind of an asterisk, you think, when somebody wins at the end of this? Like, have you thought about that at all, and just kind of how we might view this someday?
We'll view it as unique and something, you can take it two ways. You can put an asterisk beside it and say this shouldn't have been done, or you just say, you know what, you're Stanley Cup champions, and you're playing for it. And it's going to be, it's going to be interesting at first, but at the end of the day, when it comes down and you're playing for that Stanley Cup, we're making the best of a situation that no one had any idea was coming. So, you make the best of it. And, I think it's a unique situation, and I think it'd be pretty fun to have that asterisk. You know what? This is what happened. You can tell your kids, this is what happened. It's a pandemic, and this is what we had to do. And we went and we found a way to be the best team in the world. So.
From a spectator standpoint, people are going to be watching hockey, and obviously we're all assuming this is going to go through. So, watching hockey in July, August, maybe it wraps up by Labor Day, which does coincide with what the Summer Olympic dates would have been. There's been talk through the years about maybe moving hockey into a Summer Olympic sport. What would you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open for everything. I think we start a little bit early, even like in September, and I think we're a sport that we'd probably be better off. Most cities would be better off starting in November, for whatever, because of baseball and all the other major sports that are going on. So that's an interesting topic for sure. I mean, I've never really thought about it, to be honest with you, but I've only thought about what happens, if this goes late and then we start in November, December, then it would go into those summer months and for a season. Now, whether they catch up or not, I'm not sure, but that's a pretty interesting question. I wish I had a good answer for you, but I don't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Murph.
Okay. Rex, I was just going to ask you, one of the things that was a hot topic a couple of weeks ago, but it seems to have died down, is the draft and when they would have it. And a lot of people were against them obviously having it before, because when people would be trades, and it just throws everything out of whack. Were you against that, or were you going to be okay with that?
Yeah, you know what? They got to try and do what's best. I thought it was going to be tough. Personally, I thought it was going to be tough to have the draft in June. I mean, you can still make deals, but the unfortunate part is if there's a deal made and you're still playing and that gets out, you can make a deal, but and say, hey, we're going to stuff it in the drawer until we're done here. But that always finds a way to get out.
Yeah.
It's never a good thing to happen. You're in the middle of a playoff series, and all of a sudden rumors that he's been traded to wherever for a draft pick or first rounder coming up, and say it was Pittsburgh making a deal, and they said, okay, we want this first round pick or whatever, they get 20 pick or whatever. Okay, we want you to take this player. That can be done, but I think it's a pretty risky way to go, personally. I mean, I just think there's too much that can happen that would hurt players in the long run.
Has there been a lot of talk, Rex, about just what life is going to be like when play starts again? If everybody's going to a couple of hub cities, are you going to be allowed to bring your families with you? Are you going to be away from your families for a few months? I know that's something that's a big deal to the players, and it's a big deal, obviously, to anybody that's going to be involved. Curious to see how all that's going to play out, and whether players are going to want to bring, and everybody's going to want to bring their families with them. And if you're going to have to stay in your room most of the time, while you're gone for a couple of months, kind of live like a monk while the playoffs are going on, and not, go out in public much, like what's going to happen when you guys do resume?
Yeah, that's the really interesting part. Obviously, we're going to be somewhere. When the biggest thing is obviously, and I understand the players, you can go 2-3 months without seeing your family. It's a long time. And even though we've been all together for, 2+ months, we got to, I'm sure the league will make something happen where it'll be appropriate proper social, whatever social distancing still is going on, whatever, the doctors and pandemic specialists tell us, I'm sure they'll make it work. And, get your families in, get to hang out. I mean, things are pretty quiet here in Pittsburgh, but, there's still people getting out, and they're, but they're being smart about it, and I think if you're just smart about it, we can possibly make it work.
What's been the infrastructure for staying connected to guys? Have you, as individual coaches, just done texting or calls? How have you maintained that connection?
Yeah, well, we have a call once a week with the players, and we have meetings once every Friday with them, and they get some video. We send them Thursday night or Wednesday or Thursday, and then we just get on a call, and we let them get on before for a while, and then we get on a half an hour call with them and go through some video and have some fun with them and talk to them and just keep in touch with them. So it's it's been pretty good that way. Our players have been really engaged, which we're really excited about. They've been engaged in the meetings and, really seem to want to, stay with this and stay eager. And I think they're starting to get a little light at the end of the tunnel here of what's going to happen. Yeah. So that'll make it easier as well. But yeah, we've been keeping in touch. Our strength guys have been in touch with them all the time. Coaching staff, we have the odd guys we text here and there just to make sure everybody's doing okay and where they are. And, maybe time to start thinking about getting back here too.
Rex, one of the things we've seen obviously is a lot of old games during this pandemic. Every TV channel is offering old sports games, and you guys had your Zoom call there with the 2011 team. What was that like in terms of just sparking memories again for you from that season?
Guys picked up right where you left off in 2011. It was hilarious. And then it went into the wee hours, which was even more fun after. The after party was pretty good. So, even though you're on a Zoom call, it was really good.
I heard, Rex, you had a pretty heartfelt message to the guys in the after hours portion of it. Yeah, and it meant a lot to some of the guys I talked to after the fact. Was it pretty cool, like, to have that portion of yourselves to kind of, really sort of just let it fly and say what you were thinking?
Yeah, no, it's such a unique experience, and I can't believe it's coming up on 10 years already, and we were talking about that and getting together and trying to find a way to get everybody together. So, I'm going to see if we can hopefully get a long weekend together at some point and get everybody and seem pretty eager. And we found a good time where it works for everybody, and now we just got to find the spots.
Were you surprised that Soupy had so much ammo ready for March in through that entire call?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's the same in the text. We're in a group text, so it's hilarious. So,
yeah. What was Marshy like his rookie year, and you being on his line for half the season and sort of just knowing the personality that he is, and he's such a good guy, but he's also so funny and he's full of personality, and allowing him to be him, but also maybe kind of like reining him in at times when he was a young Colt at that point, still learning what it was like to be an NHL player.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fireball, and a little nuts, and he could once he got close to the fan, okay, back off now, you're good, like back off. And he was great. He was great. He's such a terrific player, and he was a great kid, and it was fun to be part of that. He made the game enjoyable for an old guy. Like it was he had all that spunk and get me fired up and was good, but he was easy to rein in a little bit, so I just had to talk to him real quick. So
I got a question on coaching here, Rex, about I just spent a whole bunch of time 2 weeks ago because the Orr goal was coming up in 1970, the famous Orr goal. And at that time, there were only two coaches. There was Harry Sinden behind the bench with Tom Johnson. TJ eventually became the coach when Harry left. But, you look at the benches today, there's the head coach with three assistants back there. I imagine in junior it was one coach or maybe one and then an assistant. How different would today's NHL be if they went back to just one head coach, one assistant behind the bench?
Yeah, it would be good. I mean, it could still be it could still be good. I mean,
Yeah.
The one guy would probably have an earpiece on anyways, and somebody's talking to him down below, or from up top to down below. So, I'm the guy with the earpiece, but yeah, it could be done. No question. And, sometimes that might make it easier if you just have a couple voices on instead of, 3 or 4. But as long as your coaching staff's on the same page, then you can have 3 or 4. But if you get guys that are on the same page, then obviously it's not going to work. But 2 could work, no problems.
I was thinking maybe there'd be more mistakes and therefore more scoring.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, we kind of limit our guys with our iPads and stuff. So they're, they can become a distraction now with all the iPads and everything now.
Yeah.
We try and limit it like for power plays and stuff. It's mainly for me. But, there might be something I need to show a player. But, they're definitely, go to the old word, you can't show a guy, oh, this is what you can talk to them and they have to figure it out, but it's easy when you just show them, okay, this is where you need to be and all that. So it definitely makes the game a little tighter.
That going back to that 2011 team, Rex, obviously you won the cup and that's, something that people are going to remember, but it seems like there was something about that team that sticks with people. And, that was the reason so many people were watching that video stream of you guys getting back together and watching Game 7 and, and talking to each other. What do you think it was about that mixture of guys that A, allowed you to have success, and B, is something that Bruins fans gravitate towards as, one of their favorites of all time?
Yeah, well, there was a unique group of guys. I mean, there was all kinds of different personalities in there, and you had, obviously, and you're led by your captain, Big Z, and it was an ultimate pro. He comes to the rink, he's a great person, great teammate, and then it falls down like Bergeron, and then you get the Lucics and the Hortons and Sean Thornton, and you go down the list of guys who had real character guys, and some color to the dressing room, and some excitement, and it was awesome. They were such a great group, and obviously when you don't win, when the organization has got to the pinnacle in 39 years, I mean, the team's kind of waiting for it, and there've been a lot of other sports, obviously baseball and the Pats have been so good, and the Celtics have been so good. They win championships now. This team just, I think the timing was perfect. Been so long, and then it just, a group of guys was they were a Boston team. Like it was a perfect Boston team for
sure. When you were at the Flyers the second time around, when Bork got traded to the Avs, I know there was a lot of talk about Bork wanted to go to the Flyers instead, and that was his preferred destination, and maybe he was going to come there. How aware of all that were you when you were with the Flyers, and were you guys kind of, hearing Ray might be coming and that might be a possibility?
Oh man, that would have been awesome. We did hear about it. Yeah, we heard about it, but yeah, that would have been pretty cool. I mean, he's such a special defenseman and such a great guy. Yeah, that would have been really neat, but unfortunately, didn't work out.
What was it like for you as just a competitor of his to see him finally win with Colorado?
Wow, it was so great. I mean, I got to spend some time with him over the year at some All-Star games, and Gary Galley and him were really good friends. So I was, Gary and I, so we played together, and then so I was able to spend some time with him over the weekend and have a few beers with him and that. He was such a great guy, and went to see a guy like that finally win, a championship, and it's huge, and then he ends his career like that. It's pretty special, and he's a good guy, and obviously we saw him this year actually at his restaurant, so it was good to see him again.
Was that one of the best parts of becoming a member of the Bruins? Obviously winning the cup is great, those guys, but also getting to know some of those other guys better, the Bobby Orrs, the Ray Borks, people like that you were, coming into closer contact with at times when you remember the Bruins? Yeah,
absolutely. And I was fortunate because Bobby was in my agent group. So with Rick Kern was my guy, but he had joined Bobby. So I'd known Bobby over the years, which was, unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing what type of person he is. And it's going to be cool when, with that goal. But it's, when you can play in an original 16 and win a championship, it's something special. And that's, you know, it was a great way to end my career and to get on, you know, the Boston Bruins. And I would always talk to my agent and I said, why doesn't Boston ever I never end up in Boston. And then finally my last couple of years, I get an opportunity to go there, and it was great.
What are you thinking? Go ahead, Murph. Go ahead.
Thanks. Rex, you know, looking back at 2011, obviously Tuukka Rask was a backup then, and now you see him and how well he's done. What have you thought of his progression, you know, both as a goalie and just as a pro?
Yeah, well, he's always been the ultimate pro too. I mean, he comes to practice every day to work on things, to get better. You know, he's miserable to score on. I could never score on him, number one. So he used to really pee me off all the time. So I'd go down there and he'd laugh. It became a little game with us. So, you know, he's a tremendous goalie. I mean, he's one of the top goalies in the league. And you know, I know there's been lots of talk, and, you know, it's unfortunate because, you know what, he's got the 2 championships, and yeah, he hasn't got the final one, but on there. And that's, you know, that can't be said for a lot of goalies in the league right now. And, you know, he's gotten them, and, you know, he was part of one in 2011, you know, which was great. But he's a ultra competitive guy, and he's a great teammate, and the guys love him. So.
I know you've dabbled in a few different things here since you retired from playing, but if you look at you're coaching now, but if you look at all the different avenues of scouting, player development, management, are you getting a sense of where you think you're going these next 5-10 years, what you want, how you want that to play out?
Yeah, I think, you know, I was I loved player development. I loved being in that role. I've really enjoyed the coaching part, especially this year. I think it's been, you know, it was kind of a, you know, our group was recharged, and they were ready to go. And, you know, we had a lot of injuries, and we just really came together as a group, and it was a lot more enjoyable. And, you know, I think I'm probably leaning that way right now to, you know, stick on the coaching side. And you know, I know that I've talked to Jim Rutherford, and he's, you know, he kind of wants me to stay that way right now. And you know, he's been great with me, and you know, I'm learning a lot with Sully and Jacques Martin as a group, and I'm learning so much coaching, and so I'm probably leaning towards going that way for now, and you know, see where it takes me.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up on this one, Rex, and thank you very much for the time. You had a Hall of Fame career, won a bunch of cups, played with some amazing players, between Mario, Yags, Lindros, Patrick Roy, I mean, Z and Bergeron and Marchand, go down the list, Hextall. Like, is there a guy that, of all those players that you've played with, of all those memories that you have like more hockey stories than another? Like, is there a favorite guy and teammate when you tell hockey stories about, you would not believe how like crazy this guy was, or, you know, how just the funny stories that seem to follow this guy around throughout your career?
Well, you know, Kevin Stevens is one that, you know, he jumps out. And I mean, yeah, he's, you know, he was a great friend. We grew up together in the minors, and, you know, thank God he's doing great now. I mean, he's obviously had some tough times, you know, throughout the years, but he's doing very well now, and speaking and helping people. But he was one that was, he was the life of the room, and you know, in the dressing room, outside the dressing room, he was always a guy that we had a lot of fun with and had a lot of good stories about. So.
Awesome. Rex, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it, bud. Take care in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you bet. You guys
Thanks,
too.
Rex.
Great talking to you
Thanks,
guys.
Rex. Appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.